We're here at Eurobike. I'm on the Cervelo stand with Damon Reinhard. He's the Senior Advanced R&D Engineer for this iconic brand, and he's going to talk us through the highlights of their latest range, starting with this rather lovely R5. Damon, why are you so excited about this bike?
I'm excited about this bike because Cervelo's mission has always been to make riders faster. And that's what this bike does. Compared to last year's R5, this one saves 7.4 watts of aerodynamic power. And you can use that savings to either go faster or take it easy. The frame is about 808 grams, and it comes as a complete bike with various builds. It's essentially the RCA, which is our top of the line, trickled down. It uses the same Squoval 3 shapes where we get that 7.4 watts savings. Squoval in Cervelo is a combination of square and oval, and those structural shapes are optimum to resist both bending and torsion, the combination of loads most commonly seen in bike tubes. At Cervelo, we use aerozone engineering analysis, which is the concept that the flow at different points across the bike changes from place to place. And so the shapes change as you go across the bike. And so Squoval 3 is really a family of tube shapes. And if you feel the down tube at the top compared to at the bottom, then you can feel the change in the cross-section.
And this bike's new from the ground up. I mean, how long has it taken to develop?
Each new Cervelo takes several years of development. This one is a trickle down from the RCA, which took a long time. We used a combination of aero and structural engineering tools concurrently. Normally a Cervelo in the past had been ultimately focused on structure, lightweight and stiffness, or ultimately focused on aerodynamics. And since we have these mature technologies in our engineering office in Toronto, we decided for the new RCA and the R5, and the R3 also, is to concurrently apply both aero and structural engineering to come up with a very light bike, which is still very stiff, but also adds aerodynamic savings.
We've moved over to the S3 now. That's Cervelo's aero road bike, and this is a completely new bike, isn't it?
Yes, it's a completely new frame design. It shares the side view silhouette with the old S3, more or less, but it uses a lot of our newer technology derived from the S5. So this S3 is below the S5. It shares the built for bottles feature on the down tube, where the down tube cross-section anticipates the presence of water bottles there, and so we save some aerodynamic drag there. The new S3 is about the same weight as our previous one. It's a lot stiffer, about 25% stiffer, and it saves about 3 watts of aero drag by the new shapes we've chosen. And we've used a lot of the technology in this S3, which is derived from the R series, the new RCA and the new R5, specifically the top tube and chainstays and seat stays, because the tubes which are most nearly horizontal don't affect aerodynamics that much. We've kept the structural optimums for these tubes. As a result, the S3 still weighs very little. It's about 1,100 grams for the frame, less than the S5 in fact.
And do the bikes go through lots of testing? Do you put them in a wind tunnel? Do you use computer-aided design?
Absolutely. We start with sketches and brainstorm ideas. The best ideas are developed in CAD and tested in CFD, which is like a virtual wind tunnel, computational fluid dynamics. We have a dedicated in-house aerodynamicist. I think we're the only bike company in the world that has a full-time aerodynamicist, and we spent about a year and a half correlating our CFD analysis to match wind tunnel results exactly. So after those good ideas are tested in CFD, the very best are physically produced, and we take them to the wind tunnel as validation. And so we select only the best ones, because Cervelo is always about making the rider faster, and we wouldn't select anything that was the second fastest idea. Only the best ideas go into production.
Cervelo has a massive reputation for time trial bikes and triathlon machines, so we're going to look at the P3 now.
The P3 is an all-new ground-up design for us this year. It was introduced this spring, and it's derived heavily from the P5. The front triangle is mostly the same shape as the P5. It shares the same geometry. It fits a lot of people really well. We have the dropped down tube, which brings the down tube closer to the front tire so that it drafts in the wake behind the front tire, which reduces overall aerodynamic drag. This one also uses the P5 aerozone engineering analysis, which we developed there, where we recognize the flow changes from the front of the bike to the middle to the back of the bike. And so the frame shapes change from front to back. We don't use just one section in every tube. At the back of the bike, we have the extended rear wheel cutout, which is originally designed in the original P3 in aluminum, if you can believe it, in those days. And it's been the most copied feature in triathlon and time trial bikes. The P3 also uses shielding stays, where the seat stay shape is designed to shield the brake behind, so the air flows across both of them together, reducing drag. Even though you can still see the brake, the wind can't. Overall, the P3 is one of the most popular triathlon bikes.
It's popular, but just how much faster is it going to make me?
Depends on what you're coming off of. This is one of the fastest triathlon bikes we've ever measured. The P5 is the fastest, and this one has nearly the same geometry and the same shapes as the P5.